Good morning, everyone. My name is Itai Veltzman. I'm product manager from Ex Libris. Here with me is Betsy Friesen. You probably all know her. And today we're going to have a session about our user experience journey during the last year and what is coming up. And thank you for joining us your afternoon here. And we'll start shortly. During the session, we'll have some interactive action, so pay attention. Some questions coming. And hopefully you enjoy it with us. You have the opportunity to ask questions, post questions. We'll do our best to answer during the session. So during this session, we are going to discuss several topics. We'll start with talking about important thing about collaboration with Alma customer. Betsy will talk about this topic. Then we'll touch the new metadata editor and demonstrate it, as well as another feature, the My Recent Entities that help us. We'll also explain a little bit about our planning to improve some workflow and accessibility plans. And then at the end, just a reminder about things that we improve in the UI that might help you. At the end, we'll leave a few minutes also to ask questions, additional questions that arose during the session. Betsy, I'm passing it. Can you hear me?
Again, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Lovely. Hello, everyone. I'm Betsy Friesen, and I am Director of Data Management and Access at the University of Minnesota Libraries. That just means I'm the head of cataloging, and we also run our enterprise system, the Ex Libris enterprise systems. I am also the coordinator for the Alma product working group, and that's why I am on this call. And I sit on the UX customer group as well. The UX group has been in play since about 2017, so a little over 2 years ago. The slide you're seeing in front of you are the participating institutions. We had 9 institutions to start with, and added Harvard on in the last year. The process that we've gone through has had 2 phases so far, and what we've come to call this now as a continuous improvement process. It's not as discrete as the first phase of the UX improvement. We waited a long time for that. That phase 1 was truly a collaborative project. We had participation from all the institutions. At that time, Harvard was not part of that effort, but it was a good give and take. We talked about use studies, and maybe things were easier then, but it did. I think everyone felt it was much more collaborative, and that's what this is all about. Phase 2, which began in it's been about, I guess actually we've been working on this since about 2016. So, because the metadata editor has been the focus since the late 2017, end of 2017. And that has required a lot more time and a lot more patience, I think, on everybody's part. There's been a technology change, and so it's been a lot, a little bit harder road to go, but it still is a collaborative project. And as many of and I think that that's the important thing that we need to stress here, is that we've tried to work together as a team with Ex Libris. And I think that that's, as we move forward, Itai, I think, is going to talk a little bit more about some of our other efforts that we've been working with Ex Libris together, including the start of looking at some performance things, and also other parts of the Alma functional modules. So I'll turn it back over to Itai so that he can continue on with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Betsy. I'll just stress from our side that from Steve's side, this highly collaborative effort, and I'm again saying thank you for all the institutions participating in it, and it's very helpful from our side. Okay, so I'm going to post poll asking you a question, a short one. You will have a chance to answer it. And let me initiate the poll. The first poll will be about general how your organization manage the UX. Feel free to answer it. You'll have a few seconds. I'm opening the poll now. Hopefully you can see it, answer it. Okay, I see people starting to answer. Great. So in general, UX, as Betsy said, over the last few years became a very important aspect. We did a first phase of a general improvement of the system, and now we are focusing on areas that are harder to approach, like the metadata editor. It's contain a lot of analysis process, user studies, talking with a lot of users, getting your feedback from various elements. And it's great you're continue to answer the poll. We'll close it in a few seconds. If you still want to answer it, tell your point of view, it would be great. And that's the way we want to continue and focusing a lot of it. And I'll show you the different ways and the different parts we're doing on it. Okay, I'm closing the poll now. Okay, I'm sharing with you the result. See it on your screen. And very interesting to see how your organization reached it. And I'll continue now with an interesting thing we did. It actually was both on Iluna and convention and the Igloo last convention. What we did is a special UX lab in which the user has the opportunity to show the system, to work with it, and share with us feedback. We started on Iluna, last Iluna, with the feedback on workflows, which was an open session that each user was able to share with us his opinion on specific workflow. And on the Igloo, what we did, we focused on the new metadata editor and recent entities. We had 15 sessions with users that were able to use in a special environment the new feature and provide the initial feedback. In this UX lab, beyond just showing a new feature, we also had a special way of using eye tracking device, which recorded the movement of the eyes during the usage of the new features, which enable us to see in an objective way actually where the user is looking, his pattern of behavior when using the screen, and that provide a lot of input for us in order to better understand how the layout of the screen should be, where the different actions should be located, and so on. We learn from it a lot. So just I'll share with you a quick session, short session. You can see while doing a search, and the user, you can see the red circle. It represents where the person is looking. You can see he's looking for the certain title. He's rolling down, and again he's looking for the right information. So that was the UX lab. It's something we are planning to continue in each coming convention, the next Luna and next Igloo, and share a new feature with the user. We felt and got a very positive feedback on the session themselves and the new feature. So from Iluna, we got as more general about the workflow. So we understand and there's all kind of issues about where about the clicking, about how much click I need to do, where I need to go, and that's something we got this input and we're incorporating it into our changes we are doing. Also, it was mentioned a lot about sorting and bulk operation, and that's something we are already in progress with adding bulk action to the system, and also about colors. From the Igloo session about the MD editor, we got, as I said, a few a very positive reaction. We'll share with you very soon also demonstrating that MD editor. So as the next topic about the new metadata editor, I would like to start by a poll, another poll, which will be about which metadata editor you are using. I put here a few and start the poll right now. You should be able to see it. Actually, it's the metadata editor. It was a very interesting journey, an important one. It took us, we started at the beginning of 2018 as soon as we finished the first phase of UI improvement. We did several months of sessions with user. We went to institution and saw actually how Cataloger works, and then it helped us. I can see people already started answering. Thank you. And what we actually doing is analyze how we can improve it, and we set a few concepts of what we want to do. One of them is, of course, improve it without the user noticing or feeling like something changed significantly. And then we still want to improve significantly the navigation ability, the whole action, and many aspects which I will share with you right now. I'm closing the poll now. Thank you for answering. We'll share with you the result in a minute. So many aspects of the MD editor is something that will bring it to be a modernized UI. And as Betsy mentioned, it's required also technology upgrade. And we very soon will be able to share with the wider audience, and they will be able to have a preview of it. And I'll explain later when. But first, I will share with you the result. Hope you can see them. And I would like to switch now to a live environment in which I will demonstrate. Can you see? I hope you can see my screen now. You should be able to see. This is a special demo environment, a development demo environment. So if there are some glitch, I'm sure you understand. And I would like to demonstrate to you how the new MD editor working. One of the first things that we decided from the beginning is to give the opportunity to switch between the current MD editor and the new MD editor by each user. So what it will allow you to gradually to get used to it, so you won't be forced immediately to switch to the new MD editor. So you will be able to switch between the new and the old. For another second till it switch back also. Okay, so this is the current MD editor, as you can see, the current layout and abilities, and I'm switching to the new MD editor. And later I'll expand about more about the gradual deployment plan, as we can see. So this is the new MD editor. Okay. Okay, so I'll start by explaining a little bit about the general layout, which is different from the existing one. And that's something we started. You can see on the left here, you can see all the different tabs and that represent a different format, either of bibliographic records or holding or authorities record that can be edited locally, managed locally. This also layout helps you to distinguish between the different area of your work. Most of the time you're working on managing and editing records. Other times you will update and create new templates, and you add and manage your rule. We'll focus on this demonstration on the records. That's the part that is already prepared today. And later on during 2020, we'll add the other parts as well. As you can see, we have the different element of the menu from business point of view, the action that the user want to do. We have various filtering capabilities I will show in a minute, and you can see more details and information about each record. Let me just for a second see if there are questions coming up. Okay. Here, I will start by showing you how the record editing looks like, actually. Here we are on the holding tab, so you can see the holding. You can see in the title all the different information. It's clearly you're holding, you're editing locally, and there's indication, of course, about for a network, editing on the network, not for editing, but for bibliographic. And you have additional information here about who created it and so on, as well as ability to perform field level actions, such as, for example, getting more field information. Okay, so that's you can see here. We can also get the alert in a matter on the down ability. Just a second, close it and show you more clearly. You can see the different alert here. Let me switch to the bibliographic record that can show you additional abilities. One of the things we added here, and that's, as we said, collaborative, so we're always getting feedback. from customers and we taking into our plans. One of the things that was added in year before during 2018 by customers was a plugin that enables to color the different subfields and so on. We took that idea and we thought it's very helpful and we get a very positive feedback from customer about that plugin, and we incorporate it in the new MD editor. As you can see here, you can clearly see the coloring um, of the subfields, which make it easier and more understandable. That's something I would like to show you also. About the alert. So what we did, we wanted to give the opportunity to have as much as space, vertical space for editing as much as possible. As you can see here, so we kind of hide all and put in different places like the information and the alerts. And also you can work with the alert in several modes. One mode is like this, popping up. The other mode is like today, like the content editor, which you have its fixed window, or a new mode that enables you to see all the alerts on the right and continue editing and working. You can jump to the right, the place that is the relevant place. You can see it, all the arrows on the right and all what is needed on the left. So that's a new mode you can work with alerts that enable you more space. Another element that we're giving the opportunity to see more editing area is the ability to collapse the navigation pane, as you see. Then you're getting, sometimes you have, and you can see this a good example, a lot of text in a certain field. This enables you to see much more of it in a clearer way, and that you can focus yourself on editing. And while you want to navigate to the next record, you can do it very easily. We kept, of course, the ability to edit records side by side. You can see we can navigate between records, open them. And one of the great things that about when you're doing user studies is that you're getting exactly all the things that annoy the person. And one of the major feedback we got is you don't give us actions, which should be the same both on left and right. And we added the ability to do all the actions also on the right panel, as well like it was possible on the left panel, and which enable you to work more efficient. I want to show you some important aspect of new capability about in the editor, which we call it the always on. It means that instead, like in the current MD editor, each time you open a record, each time you're actually reloading the whole information in the record, which takes time, of course, actually now the MD editor is the background. And you can easily switch between the MD editor, hide it, and come back. In this example, I'm going to the search screen here, and I can search. Do the search I want, find the information I'm looking for, which is the additional information I want, and then I can switch back to the exact status state I was when I'm editing. Here, back and forth, you can see it very quickly, and that's, of course, important aspect of the user experience. And Betsy mentioned it about performance, and that's one of the major things we would like to improve in the new MD editor when we're looking at it. Another important feature we added is the ability to push to MD editor. What does it mean? It's actually the ability to take a certain title, say, okay, that's something interests me, that's something I need to work on, and put it in the working queue in the MD editor, and then you will be able to see it on the navigation pane. And the reason is that sometimes you don't want to work just on a certain, like today, you editing a record and that you chose. You want to get it quickly, several ones. So you can actually mark and select several titles you want to edit, in this case 3, and then push them to the MD editor. So all those 3 records were sent, but then you can continue. You can decide you want to continue and add some more to the queue, or you can finish and switch back to the MD editor. When you're switching back to the MD editor, you still have the same situation of you still have the same state, you left it, but you get all the new records here. You can see the mark as pushed. This means that they were pushed here into the MD editor by you from the search result. And now you can continue and edit them, and of course decide you want to do any changes, or you just looked and you release them, and here you can continue. Okay, that's a good question. Why I put 3 records? Why do I see only one? As I said, there are some glitches. It's a development area still. We're working on it and fixing all those issues. And in your when you will get it on your sandbox. Of course, this kind of issue will not be there. We already handle it. Actually, the version you see it's a version from the previous cycle of development. This was the latest stable one. And yes, so I mentioned in the beginning, it's a development. But yes, you will be pushed. If you push 3, you will see 3. There is a situation when you already push it, it's actually something that you will get the same record will not pushed again because you already open it. So you don't need to remember if you pushed it already or not. The system knows how to handle this situation. Okay, I'll switch back to the presentation. I'll continue with the other topics we have. Okay, so a little bit about deployment plan. So it's not a regular deployment plan of a feature. Sometimes we do some early adopters and then we open to the wider audience. Because the complexity and the richness of the MD editor, there's a lot of aspect to it, and people use it in different ways. Different institutions use it for different purposes. And we want to get your feedback while you're doing it in a more interactive way with the customers. So we're releasing it piece by piece. We don't release the whole functionality of the MD editor, so you don't need to wait for the whole. And we're releasing it in a manner that you can use it in parallel with the existing MD editor. So new functionality like record editing, I show you, you will be able to start to use the new MD editor. But templates and rules, which still doesn't exist, that's something you will use still the current MD editor. Eventually, by the end of 2020, we'll make the new MD editor as a default with the full functionality, and that's the plan. The next step that we are planning, I'll start actually with the first step that already was done, and that's initial testing by the UX customer group, where over around 60 cataloger from various institutions testing the initial. We got important feedback, which we'll incorporate, and you will see it already in the sandbox, in the current sandbox, and that step completed. will continue, and the user customer group are using this special development environment and testing as an early adopter during the development cycle. They are already looking on feature and can react to it, so we'll make changes as needed, and that's the intention. And we also want to get your feedback as well, and that's the reason we are doing this early release and gradually deployment. It will start it by the sandbox. We are planning to, you will have it during February on the sandbox available for you to be used and experienced. And later on, we also give the opportunity and the ability to turn it on production. And that will enable you also to actually use the new MD editor, enjoy it, the parts that are ready and fully tested and certified. And that's the way we'll continue to deploy until all the functionality exists, including incorporating your pain points you discover and things that are important to address. And we'll make the new MD editor as the default. Eventually, the old one will retire once there will no need to use it anymore. Okay. The next feature I would like to demonstrate a new feature which is called recent entity, which is going to be out there very soon. I believe it will be March release or even a little bit earlier. That's as part of my recent activity center. We have the recent entities ability. This feature is enable each user to see his latest activity of editing different entities such as portfolio, collections, bibliographic records, authorities, and others. We are starting by showing you the inventory entities, but eventually it will cover all the different entities system, including funds and PO line and so on. The first release of this feature will include the inventory, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate it today. The main idea here is to help you to navigate in the workflow. One of the things that we saw that is challenging for the customer is while working on a certain workflow, you need to jump to another element and come back. And that's one of the things that this tool help you. Show you how it looks like. I'll switch to the search, for example. Okay, I'm doing any kind of workflow on whatever screen. And now I have here the ability to see all my latest activity. I've upfront, of course, done some activity to show you. So you can see in the activity, let's say I want to look for a physical item I edited. So you can see the specific item you edit. I can go to it and see more details if I want. Okay, and then I can extract whatever I want, and then I can either edit it or whatever. If I cancel it, I'll go back to the place I was here. We limited the number, or we limited the records and the action that caused a certain record to get into the list. So it will be very focused on what actually you did. You get here both edited entities and also you get deleted one. You see here, you can't access them, of course, because they were deleted, but you know you deleted them, and once you add it. We are covering also sets, so you can also see what is related to set. You can access, in this case, the set result here. As you can see, you can various changes you want and work with it. You can also And here you can also use keywords to search. For example, art. I'm searching for the art. I see here a physical item that answer it, portfolio, electronic portfolio, and so on. You have here the ID that many times you want to copy the ID because you have some additional work you want to do. You want to copy to a different system, to another Excel sheet, and various way to do it. And also you can dismiss specific item. I'm not interested to see, it's not relevant, so you can dismiss this item from the list. Dismiss this collection. Okay. Here is the ability. You will see it, as you can see here, this was done yesterday. Okay. Let me show you an example. Static of power. Go to the item. Edit it. Save it. And you see here, it's appearing here as my recent activity. So I'm asked here about circulation fulfillment. So as I mentioned, currently the first release of the recent entity will cover the inventory area. But yes, later on we're planning to add users, as I mentioned as well, and other aspects. What I want to emphasize is that we're planning to add only the relevant changes. It's not something that no bulk changes, for example, will be added here, because we don't want to create a situation you get a very long list and very hard to find what you needed. It's only a specific thing you done manually on specific entities. So that's something that, of course, will come later. So let me switch back and continue the presentation. I want to talk a little bit about some points we are planning around workflow improvement that are going to come in the next releases. As I mentioned, one of the feedback we got during the session we've done the user studies and the UX lab and others is about the ability to do bulk operation. In general, we're specifically going to start with addressing the needs for the physical item, which will enable you, as you can see here, to choose the items you want. You will be able to select all the items on the page. You can do it cross pages also, and you can decide to activate an action about it. So it can be something like simple, even delete everything, or you can even actually initiate a job. Okay, so usually in order to create a job, it's something that you need to create a set, go to the set, making sure it's containing what you want, then going to the job, selecting the set, running the job, and so on. Here, we're doing all this action from the UI. The user doesn't need to go to anything. Any other place. He get all the parameter of the job. Here, he can decide what, in this case, to update, what kind of item he can update. He's doing it and getting a feedback it was done. That's it. And then you continue from there and you can see it. So that's a change we are planning. Later on, we are planning to implement in other list entities that will enable also this bulk operation. Betsy mentioned performance. So a very important I see, excuse me, I see another question here about the recent entities I would like to answer. It's about, the question is how many entities are tracked in recent entity. So it's about, it's according to time. So it's last 7 days. It shows you last 7 days. We didn't limit it to amount of entities. There is a limited amount of entity records a person can add it manually. So it's something that is possible. So I believe it's you're doing tens of records editing per day, and it will become up to several hundred a week. So that's possible to manage them. You can search very easily and so on. Hopefully, it's answered the question. So coming back to the performance, which is a very important aspect in UX, and we got a clear feedback. We are monitoring, getting some feedback about, but we want to pay more attention and do it in a very methodical, together with the user, into improving. So the Alma working group is served also as performance focus group. We also already had a kickoff meeting. We introduced some statistic about pages that has issues that are their usage is very high, and you're getting the performance of the page is not good enough. We already started in improvement process. We done some changes and improvement. Hopefully some of them you will already feel. The process is identifying, analyzing it, testing it with a certain customer with his data, making sure that the improvement actually done what is needed, and that's the process we are doing. We're working collaborative with the performance focus group that kind of summarize and stress the area also from user perspective. It's not enough that we see issues. It's also how something is perceived from the user perspective, what actually is being done. And I think it's a very important area to help and improve the overall user experience here. As you can see, the focus group is both about giving the input, also prioritizing which pages we're starting first, and eventually communicating all the changes or what we are doing. It's something we'll stress more about it. An important area that came lately in more strong way was accessibility. And I would like to share with you a few things. But first, and this will be the last poll, but again, I'll be happy if you can use it. We want to know a little bit more how you view accessibility, how your organization is working it. I'm opening the poll now. Okay, you can probably be able to see it. I hope you can start giving your point of view. Accessibility is something that is coming very soon as more like we get more and more feedback from customer as a mandatory element you need to cover. Until now, we invested a lot in accessibility, making Alma accessible. By the way, the new MD editor is accessible, and which the older one or the current one has many issues. That's another aspect it's part of the improvement we are doing. I see people starting to answer. Great. And what is happening is that we want to continue and improve it until the situation will have no exception, and of course with the latest standard. We also have an annual review that the external company is going over system, and then we find more issues. We also get feedback, of course, from customer and handling it. I'll close the poll now, so you have a few more seconds to answer. So until now, we already had a VPAT, what you call it, a report eventually that we give about the accessibility of the system. That is, you can of course see it. What we are planning by the end of this year is having this report also for the latest standard, which is WCAG 2.1. The MD editor by mid-year would already be accessible. So the new MD editor you will be able to use in the production. Of course, will have more shortcuts, will have all the ability of the screen readers and so on. We also plan to add a special high contrast color scheme that the user will be able to enable. And that's important help the people with heavy sight. Share with you the poll I've done. And we eventually, by the end of 2020, we going to have the full WCAG 2.1 level A and AA without exception. That's our goal. We'll be able to achieve it completely. And that's something that we believe will help very much significantly to help the people that need this help. A few more, quick ones. There are several elements we improve. I hope, if not all of them, most of them you already experience and aware of and using. But still, if you didn't have the chance or to see it, we have the search main menu, feature that enables to search both in the main menu and the configuration menu on the same time from the home page, from the main screen. Also, we put some ability to control the number of results you are getting. For most of the pages, there are some pages that, of course, are the number of records that can be shown is limited. And then you can decide if you want to see more at once and wait for loading, or you want to get it faster and you want to see less. So that's something you control. We're also giving you more edit area by collapsing the summary. You have here a nice small arrow on the right you can use to collapse. Also, in the search result, you have the ability to expand the drawer and seeing all the details in the drawer together. And that's something you control either in the certain record you want to see or the entire record. Again, it's all in the user level. Of course, user can have all these abilities. And also, as part of mouseless and accessibility, we are supporting navigation in the list by using arrows up and down. And another very nice feature we added, and I think is very useful, I don't know if you're aware of it, it's a chance to be, is using tabs hotkeys. You're pressing the Alt and then show you. It's when you press the Alt, you get the shortcuts here. Let's look on the search. So you can see 1 and 2. So by pressing Alt and the number, you get directly to the tab you want. In this case, community. And sorry, back. One last topic before giving you a few more minutes, ability to ask questions and maybe raise a few questions that was discussed in the past, is about the feedback messages. The feedback messages is something we added to improve distinguish between the messages to make it to answer some issue we had with the validation and so on, and also to improve the text that are there. We did a lot of work around it, but we also heard your feedback, and one of the feedback was that successful messages are very annoying. You don't need to get on every successful message the ability, and we provided the ability to collapse it by default, and that's something will be available very soon. We'll turn it on, and each user can decide if the successful message on a certain page is something it doesn't need to see the content, it just need to see a small check mark saying all is good. So that's another element we worked on and deal on this year and collaborate with you about. Again, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I want to thank Betsy for her introduction of the collaborative way we're working. Thank you very much for everyone, and stay tuned on our updates on our journey.
Itai,
Yes, Betty.
before we end our session here, I wanted to give a special shout out and thanks to the many of the people on this call from the APAC region for the testing that they do for the rest of us so that we don't have to experience the problems that they experience um, occasionally on releases. We appreciate all your help and all your comments.
I totally agree. I know they are the first in line. And again, thank you very much. And thank you very much for all the feedback we're getting from you. And we are doing our best to incorporate as much as possible from it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all.